What if I told you that for most of human history, people only worked about 4 hours a day? Not because they were lazy, not because life was easy, but because that's all it actually took to survive and thrive. Meanwhile, you're staring at your ninth hour of a laptop screen, drinking your third coffee, wondering why you still feel behind. So what happened? And what did your ancestors know that we've completely forgotten? Let's find out. We've been sold this image of the medieval peasant, bent over fields from sunrise to sunset, working themselves to death every single day. But historians and anthropologists say that's simply not true. Researcher Juliet Shore, in her book The Overworked American, found that medieval English peasants worked roughly 150 days a year. That's less than half of what we work today. And hunter-gatherer societies, anthropologist Marshall Sahlins called them the original affluent society. Studies of groups like the Kung San of the Kalahari showed they spent only 3 to 5 hours a day on food and survival tasks. The rest? Storytelling, rest, play, community. Now, I know what you're thinking, but they didn't have Netflix, bills, or school fees. Fair point. But the structure of their lives is still worth examining. There are 3 big reasons our ancestors worked far fewer hours than us. Number 1, nature set the schedule. Before electricity, you worked with sunlight. When it got dark, you stopped. There were no deadlines at 11 p.m. No, just one more email. The rhythm of work was literally built into the planet. Number 2, feast days and religious holidays. Medieval Europe had over 100 feast days per year. That's on top of Sundays. These weren't optional. The church mandated rest. Modern economists would call this legally enforced leisure. Number 3, subsistence, not productivity. Pre-industrial people worked to meet needs, not to maximize output. Once the grain was stored, the hunt was done, the bread was baked, the day was over. There was no boss asking you to do more just to stay ahead. Then came the 1800s, and everything broke. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change how people worked, it changed our relationship with time itself. Suddenly, time became money. Clocks appeared on factory walls. Bosses could measure every minute. If you were idle, you were losing someone else's profit. At the peak of industrialization, factory workers in England and America worked 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. It took decades of labor movements, strikes, and even deaths to win the 8-hour workday. A right we now treat as totally normal, even though it was literally fought for with blood. And here's the twist. Even that victory of 8 hours may have been a compromise we accepted too easily. Here's where it gets really interesting. Modern productivity research keeps arriving at the same uncomfortable conclusion. After about 4 to 6 hours of focused work, most people's cognitive output drops off a cliff. Microsoft Japan ran a 4-day work week experiment. Productivity went up 40%. Stanford economist John Pencavel found that output per hour dramatically declines after 50 hours a week. Work 70 hours? You get almost no more done than at 55. We're not working more and producing more. We're working more and just being there more. Your ancestors didn't have more time than you. They just hadn't been convinced yet that every waking hour needed to be productive. Rest wasn't a reward for finishing work. It was part of life. Maybe the 4-hour workday isn't some radical utopian fantasy. Maybe it's just what humans were actually built for. So the real question isn't how do I work more? It's what would I do with my hours if I actually owned them? Think about it. If this hit different, drop a comment below. I read every single one. Like and subscribe if you want more videos that challenge what we think we know about work, time, and living well. I'll see you in the next one.